I was hoping to begin this discussion by getting a sense from law enforcers of how bad is the situation. Major General Bafana Linda from the police had agreed to talk to us. He heads up into investigations of family violence, child protection and sexual offences, but we're battling to get him on the line at this moment. We'll keep on trying. But I want to get a sense, what do law enforcers say about the ongoing scourge of violence against children? What are they doing about it currently? Anecdotally, there's an increase in the kidnapping and trafficking of children in our country. So I want to know from the police, is that true? What are the numbers telling us? As soon as we get Major General Bafana Linda, who will talk to him as well. But in the studio with me, as part of our discussion here on the issue of violence against children, I'm joined by Steve Miller. He's from Save the Children South Africa. He represents the global NGO Save the Children in South Africa. Steve, good morning and welcome. Thank you very much for your time. Violence against children, stats by Save the Children just a few years ago, even recently, are showing that the situation in South Africa, it's dire. In fact, it shows that violence against children in our country is higher than a global average. That's really bad.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time, and I'm looking forward to this discussion. You've brought together a lot of interesting people. You're entirely correct. The stats that we do have show a troubling increase in violence, but this is pre-COVID. And what I think would be good today is for us to explore what's happened post-COVID. So post-March, under these new conditions, in the lockdown, what does that mean for children? And we've done quite a lot of research into this globally, as well as here in South Africa.
Yeah, in the discussion, we're going to be joined by Mr. Patrick Solomons from Molo Songololo. We'll be joined by Ms. Dumisile Nala, Childline South Africa. I'm hoping Ms. Dumisile can hear us as well. And I'm hoping to be joined by Ms. Mayke Huijbregts from Unicef. Now, pre-lockdown, things were bad. Okay, we will talk about what has happened since during lockdown. But in the history of Save the Children, as you've been monitoring the situation in South Africa, do the laws that exist today, are they sufficient for us to deal with the scourge of violence against children?
So if we look at the latest statistics, we had around, I think, 943 children who were killed, murdered, in the period from March 2019 to March 2020. So that's significant. And what we also saw was a 5.8% increase in children doing these murders. So we're seeing violence rising in this country. It's always been an issue. But the laws are actually there. We have, in 2019, one of the critical things that happened was the banning of corporal punishment in the home. Because we very much connect what happens to children when they're young, what they learn about violence, and what happens in society later.
So that's one law that has changed in favor of children. We do have on the line Major General Bafana Linda from the South African Police Service. General Linda, good morning.
Good morning, sir, and good morning to the viewers.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Just wanted to start my discussion here today on eNCA about violence against children, just to get a sense from you, from the police, from the law enforcers, how bad the situation is. Because anecdotally and statistically, we're getting this conflicting situation that it's worsening and worsening, but sometimes the numbers don't show that. How bad is it?
The situation is getting worse. We are seeing an increase on the abuse of children. What is also worrying, you find children getting abused in the hands of those who are supposed to protect them. I mean the parents and also the guardians. And furthermore, you also find other children being perpetrators of the same abuse. You will also understand the issue of cyberbullying at school that end up other children also committing suicide because of that bullying at school. And you also have children that are murdering each other within the environment. We have seen the stabbing happening at schools, and we have seen recently, about a couple of weeks ago, what was worse, it was what I would call a girl-to-girl abuse, where two girls were abusing another girl at school. The clip, also video clip, was circulated in the media. That is what is worrying for us. But what we need to understand before we talk about how effective is the law, We need to look at the issues of proactive, which is prevention. Prevention starts at home, where the children must be protected. The first place of safety should be a home. When a child is at home, they should feel protected and within that environment. Hence, we are saying there is also something wrong with our society in terms of parenting skills. Those who are supposed to protect children are suffering in their hands. At some stage, you find children being alone. We will know that the crime is opportunistic, which means that whenever criminals see an opportunity, they see a child walking alone or children playing alone. They see an opportunity where children are being kidnapped and where the parents are not there or the guardians are not even taking care of the children. So we need to do more.
General Linda, you talk about the home. That's one area where we know children are abused and they suffer violence. You've mentioned violence among children, so we also know that children also commit acts of violence against each other. You've mentioned cyberbullying, but we also know that there's also violence committed by children, by strangers who kidnap them, abuse them, and traffic them. When it comes to child trafficking specifically, how dire is the situation? Because anecdotally on social media, we see posts about that child has gone missing, that one has been trafficked. How bad is child trafficking?
Mr. Moyane, I agree with your opening statement that some social media are circulating, some are not genuine, and some are genuine. One will need to purify that first. Some children are getting missing, and when we trace them as police, we find them safe and only find that they are runaway children. I also agree that some children are getting kidnapped and also be taken into different kinds of industries. You mentioned your sex industry. You can mention also some other children are trafficked for different reasons, for child labor, and also some for organ harvest.
So is your position as the police currently, as we speak today, that the laws are sufficient, but what's failing our children is society, and the law enforcers' hands are tied because you can't be everywhere? You need everybody around the children to do their part. Is that your position?
That's correct. What I want to emphasize here, any battle against crime, the SAPS on their own, they cannot win the battle. They will win the battle when they, in partnership with the society, someone, somehow, somewhere sees the crime being committed. We have been successful in solving a lot of cases with the help of the community, because the community are our eyes and ears on the ground. Those who came up and assisted us, we happen to solve the cases. We need information ourselves because we can't be everywhere ourselves. We can't be having cameras in each and every house. We can't be having cameras everywhere where the community and the children are. But someone within the community sees what happens somehow, somewhere. That's the kind of information that we need.
But the residents of Orange Farm, General Linda, the residents of Orange Farm, I hope you can hear me, General Linda, this week, with the deaths of those two friends, 6-year-old and 8-year-old, they were marching just yesterday to the local police station, claiming the local police are failing them. When families, when people come to police and report a missing child, do you act quickly, swiftly, to find that child?
Mr. Moyane, the instruction is very clear that the issue of 24 hours waiting is long gone. The national office issued an instruction that once a child is missing or any other person is missing, that matter must be reported immediately. And we also have partnered with Facebook. We have what we call Amber Alert. When the child is reported, SPS must be involved, and that information is passed through to our Facebook task team with the Amber Alert, where that information is circulated immediately. In case of non-compliance at that particular police station, that matter must be reported, and that particular person or police officer will be dealt with accordingly in terms of our disciplinary processes within the police service.
Thank you very much. Major General Bafana Linda, we'll have to leave it there for you. Thanks for taking the call this morning as we set the scene for the discussion. And we're going to continue and get into that today's special discussion with the panel that includes the CEO of Save the Children, that's in South Africa, that's Mr. Steve Miller. You've already seen him, the director of Molo Songololo as well, a representative of UNICEF and Childline South Africa. Stay with us.